The Witch and the Man. The story was told to me by my stepmother, and all those who were with her family at the time confirmed it. It was Easter. As you know, all witches are especially active on that day, because they try to get into the church to become stronger. According to my stepmother, it was 1993 outside. We were 16 and 13 years old, and I was the eldest in the family. So we were going along a road we had known for a long time to consecrate the Passover. It was getting a little lighter outside. And then my mother and I felt anxious. And around the planting and a little further a cemetery. I said to my mother, "Mom, let's go around, we're people, civilization, I'm afraid for some reason to go through a cemetery." But Mom was silent and nodded her head in response. We went around, even though it was further, but through the village, and then out of nowhere, the wheel rolled toward us, the usual wheel from a wheelbarrow or something like that. And then we, and especially my sister, got curious. So she runs up to this wheel, a loud yell is heard, "Get away! Don't touch it!" We're all frozen, and the wheel rolls quietly. A man in his 50s came out of the yard with a rope and said, "Get out of the way, don't you see? A witch is rolling from the church." We all looked at each other in surprise. And he ran up sharply to that wheel, hit it with all his might, and led the rope through the wheel itself, tied a knot, and hung it up against a standing tree. We were shocked. We continued on our way, wondering where the wheel had come from and who this man was. We reached the church without incident, dedicated the Easter eggs, and, having already forgotten about the incident, walked back home through the village. We could not have been more surprised when we got to the place where it all happened. There were a lot of police, an ambulance around the tree where the wheel had been hung. On that tree hanged was our neighbor, our grandmother. We had been looking out for her and her house. We didn't want to see her or her house. They kept saying she was no good and had buried 4 husbands in her time. What was remarkable was that half of her face was bruised, as if she'd been hit. But we were more than surprised that the man died afterwards. As it turned out later, according to his wife, he went out early in the morning to do his chores, he yelled something, he was gone about 10 minutes. I went into the house, and I heard something heavy falling. Through sleep, I didn't pay attention to it. When I woke up, I heard an old woman laughing loudly. I was frightened out of my wits. I went out on the veranda and fell into hysterics. My dead husband was lying on the floor with his face twisted in fear and his eyes open, and in front of him, in a tree, an old woman was hanging. That's the story. Don't judge. It's all hearsay. The story is real. Translate.